Okay, so this week we are covering in our very first module of the ICD-10 PCS, which is your procedural coding system. You were not required to buy the ICD-10 PCS book because that's a lot to buy for ICD-10 CM and then also the PCS. So we provided the files for you to utilize over the next 3 modules. So what this meeting is going to cover is how to use these files. You can find these files in Module 12, and they are simply labeled ICD-10 PCS files. That's a PDF, and you can utilize it there. And this is what's going to pop up like you guys can see on my screen. The great thing about these files, okay, is that you can use them, work within them. So see how it's blue here? So if I wanted to go to the PCS tables in the introduction, I could hit that and it takes me straight to the tables section, okay? If I wanted to go to the index, I can hit that and it takes us to the index portion of of these files, okay? And then you can just simply, for some reason, it's not letting me click introduction to return to introduction, so we're just going to scroll back up. I don't know why it's doing that. But if you'll notice, if you click back to introduction, it doesn't work. But if you click back to the top, I don't know why that's not going. But you should be able to click back to the top, and it will do it. There's my hand. There, it'll do it there. So it'll take me back up to the top. It just won't take me when it says return to introduction. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, so here we go. Here is what I suggest you do. I would click in each one of these and just kind of get a view of each one. So here's definition. So it can, in the ICD-10 PCS definitions, contain the official definitions of the ICD-10 PCS values in characters 3 through 7. So it's telling you the values from the characters 3 through 7. Remember, in ICD-10 PCS, you will always, absolutely always have 7 characters. If you don't have 7 characters, you don't have the correct code. Okay, so remember that. I would click on that, and you can go, if you click on definitions, then you could go to any of these areas to look up the definition. So if I was working in the medical and surgical section and I was doing operations, if I wanted definitions of the medical surgical section and all the operations, I would click there. And here it gives you the definition of each operation. So you can read about each operation that is done. So you look at bypass, what's the definition? Altering the route of passage of the contents of a tubular body part. Explanation of that is rerouting contents of a body part to a downstream area of the normal route to a similar route and body part, or to abnormal route and dissimilar body part. Includes one or more anastomosis with or without the use of a device. It includes examples. So here's an example that this would use: coronary artery bypass or colostomy formation. So if you're dealing with some kind of bypass and you don't know what that is, hit the definition. It will take you there. If it's a creation or a destruction, if you don't know to go what destruction means, I would click on the definition of destruction, and that's the procedure part, and see what that is. So the definitions are extremely helpful. Use this over the next 3 weeks, okay? If you don't know what a detachment, if you don't know to look at detachment, means it's cutting off all or a portion of the upper or lower extremities, okay? So that will help you. Go to that, okay? Here's body part key. So it tells you the entries of body part keys. So if you're an abdominal aortic plexa, it's used in the abdominal sympathetic nerve, okay? Esophagus lower. So it tells you, here's the term, here's the value, which you would find in the table. So if you have these words given to you in a medical record, you're going to use this as a definition in the table. Okay? So please go through each one of those and just kind of read it so you know that this is an amazing tool for you to utilize. Okay? There's different device keys. If we're doing substance, here's all the substance keys. So here's all your, substances that you're going to use. And here's the key from what is used in the PCS table. Okay? Questions over this? You can see how this can be very, very helpful to you over the next 3 weeks. Okay? Now, let's go to tables. This is where you would normally start. Let's look at what we're doing this week. We are doing medical and surgical sections and OB. Okay, so we're working on these 2 sections right here, medical surgical section and obstetrics section. So let's go to the table. So if we're doing a medical and surgical, you see how they have all these numbers right here? These numbers right here are the first character within your code, okay? So we have numeric and alphanumeric. So whatever we choose out of this list, that's going to be our very first character in our code. So if we're dealing with a medical and surgical, so if you had a question saying, what is the first character of the medical and surgical section, you're going to look in the table. The first character in our medical surgical section is a 0. That's our first character. So we're going to click medical and surgical section. Maybe we're doing a medical and surgical section of the eye. Okay, so we're dealing with the eye. Okay, it says the medical surgical section is the body system values are listed below. So now we're checking a body system. So the second character, if we're doing body systems, everything in the section, your second character in your code is dealing with body system values. Okay. Click on the body system to access its list of operations. So we're in the medical surgical section. Let's say we're dealing with a body system of the eye. So our second character in our code is going to be an 8. So now we have 2 characters within our code, a 0 and an 8. See, it just goes in order, left to right. Okay? So we're going to click an eye. Now we're in the operation values. Okay, your third character has to deal with the operation value in the eye because we are dealing with that, the body system. So we're going to click the operation to access our corresponding ICD-10 PCS table. So are we doing an excision? Maybe we're doing an excision of the eye. Okay. So that's going to bring us here. Here's our excision. Okay, your documentation in your medical record is going to give you this information. Okay, you can't document and you can't code this unless you have specific documentation, obviously. So doctors now know this, that they have to get very specific. And y'all all know in a operational note, it's extremely detailed on everything that they do step by step by step, what they've used, what they didn't use, all this stuff. So here's our third character. If we're going with an excision, our third character is going to be a B. So now we have 3 characters. We have the 3 characters out of the 7 already because we're dealing with excision. So now we're up to O8B. So if you're asking for operation values in the medical and surgical section, that third character is always going to be a B. Okay? So let's click excision. Now it's taken us to the table. Okay, this is where we get the other 4 characters within our code. Okay, so you will see at the top of your table, at the very top of your table, we are at the first 3 characters of our code. Okay, so here's the first character, which is a 0. That's the section. Then our second character is our body system. We're dealing with the eye. We just chose that. It's an 8. And then our third character in our code is a B, and that's excision. And the cool thing is it gives you the definition out beside it, cutting out or off without replacement a portion of a body part. Okay. Now, we have to decide our body parts. Okay. So here's it's going to go. The table's going to go. Here's your first 3 characters right down. Up to down, and then we're going to follow the table from left to right. Okay, so here's the first column is your 4th character, second column is your 5th character, the third column is your 6th character, and then the 4th column is your 7th character. That's how it works. Okay, now here's something that you all need to know, very, very important. If you're going in this box, okay, so let's say our operation had to deal with the left eye, okay? This one right here, the left eye, okay? Then that means we have to stay in this row. You can't just go down a diagonal and up and down. If you start in this row, it goes all the way across, okay? So these are all, this is the approach, here's the devices that they would use in that area, and here's the qualifier, okay? All of the documentation in a medical record is going to state it. If it doesn't state it, then you're going to have to query the physician, okay? So if we're dealing with the left eye and our documentation says it's an open approach, okay? So now we're up, here's character number 1, 0, 8B1. It was an open approach, so our 5th character is a 0. The 6th character is, there's nothing to choose from other than Z, so we know that our 6th character in this code is a Z, and maybe it was a diagnostic procedure, and then our 7th character would be an X. Okay, so we would choose that one, and that gives you your 7 characters within your code. That's how the tables work, okay? Once you find a box that yours enters in. Now, here's the thing. If let's say there was a right eye and a left eye, and it was also in this one, but they didn't give you percutaneous in this box, but gave you percutaneous in this box, and this is the route you're going to go. But obviously, it just goes all the way across. Percutaneous was given in several of these sections, but not necessarily external was in all of these sections. So you couldn't do an iris of the right and it be external. That's never going to happen. It's not offered. That's not an operation. That doesn't exist. So the documentation is wrong, or you're not looking at the documentation correctly. So whatever you find in these rows, everything that follows that has to follow that documentation. Does everybody understand how to read the table? These are your first 3 characters within your code. Here's the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. The table goes from left to right. Okay? Right now, I know you jumped in late, so for you to capture the front end of it, you'll need to listen to the recording, okay? Any questions on how the table works? No questions? So if we wanted to go back up, I'm going to hit the back to the top, and it's going to take us back to where we actually begin, okay? Where the first character of your letter began. We're going to be picked in the sections. Now you see, if you don't know what an approach is and you don't know what certain devices are, remember when you go up, here's all the keys to that. Remember, if we didn't know what a device was, here's all the terms of all the different devices that is you have access to, and it's in alphabetical order, okay? So you can see that it goes from A to Z, all the different types of devices, and it's in alphabetical order, which is beautiful. So if you see a device and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what that is. So if we were doing this device and I wouldn't even know how to look, if you'll see in the table, this is what it's going to be equivalent to, the inner body fusion device in lower joints. So if you see this device given, this language given to you in a medical chart, this is what it means in the table. Does that make sense? This will not be said in the table. This is the equivalent to it. This right here. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I had a phone call in the middle of that. But on there, so what you're saying is, like, in the chart, it will say, like, the CO word. I'm not going to try to butcher that one.
Yes.
And then and when you look it up, it'll be under the intern body fusion device.
Yes, that's its equivalent, and that's the key word that's going to be in the table. Okay? They're not going to put this device. They're not going to put this co-Rowent extra large wording within your ICD-10 PCS table. So that's why they give you this key. Okay? So in the table of devices, let me go up.
We always have to look in the table of devices and stuff. Like, will we always have to look at this, or will sometimes it be like it's supposed to? I guess I could say.
No, there's always these keywords. You got to think how many different devices are out there, right? Like y'all saw, it was like a billion of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go back to my eye. We did excision. Look, here's the device. There would be some operations where a device is not even needed. There's no device in that operation. There's no device that they're going to use. There's no device given. Okay, so your character for device is going to be a Z. So when you're looking at the device character, see in anything in this section of the I, you'll see that there's not a specific character for that specific device. You see, you're just going to automatically code Z, no device, because they're not going to use a device. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
But if you'll look here, when I scroll down, look, there's several devices you can choose from. So if you had this surgery and it guided you to this surgery guided you to this row or column, row, then look at this devices. You have 3 to choose from. Okay, so if you would need to go up to your key terms to figure out to make sure that you're picking the right 6th character in the device.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Don't make this too hard. These files make it super, super, super easy. Okay, because it gives you all of those definitions. You're just going to have to do the work to look for it. Okay, it will make it super easy for you, and they have them for each section, each character of your code. You'll notice you'll need a body part, the approach, the device, the qualifier. You'll need the section character comes first, then the body systems, and the operations. It goes in this order every single time. This never strays. Your first character will always be the section. Your second character will always be the body system. Your third character will always be the operation, and then you'll go body part, approach, device, qualifier. Okay? If you don't know what body part you're actually specifically talking to, then I would come right back up to the introduction and look at the key terms that are located. Okay? And it all goes in alphabetical order. So if you've gotten the word abdominal aortic plexus, well, in the ICD-10 table, it's going to be known as the abdominal sympathetic nerve. So you would be looking for, if the medical record said the abdominal aortic plexus, in the table you're going to be looking for this term because it's equivalent to this. Does that make sense? See how wonderful those keys are? It's beautiful. Because it gives you all of those definitions. And learning how to use these files is essential. Okay? You see, I can just click on it and it will get it there. Okay?
Oh,
You just click it and it will take you straight there.
I got it. Okay.
For some reason, whenever you do here on my files, it's not working. So you'll probably have to scroll up because it's being cantankerous. You'll need to scroll up on some of these tabs. If it says back to the top, it usually works great. I don't know why that's not working. The return to introduction. I know, being cantankerous, but then you can just scroll all the way up. But if you hit back to the top, it'll take it back up. Okay? When you hit back to the top, it's automatically going to take you to where the tables begin, and then you'll pick your section. Okay? And we're going to be breaking these sections down each week. So this week we're doing medical and surgical and obstetrics. I can't say it, I'm being tongue-tied. So you obviously will be working in these 2 areas. Okay? But the key is to learn how. Obviously, when you hit OB, you only have to choose one because that's OB. We know it's pregnancy. That's going to be the same every time. And then you just got to look to see if we were doing an abortion. And here's your table. So if the question said, what is the character for your 6th character? What would the answer be? If I asked you in the OB section, what is the character for OB What does it mean if I said your code is 10A03ZZ? What does the 3 stand for?
Approach.
Okay, what does the 3 stand for?
Percutaneous.
That's going to be your answer. Okay. So it's learning how to read the tables. Okay. First you're going to pick your section, then your body system, then your operation. Then it's your body parts. And once you get these 3 down, then it takes you straight to the table. It narrows it down. Once you get the top section, it'll narrow it down and zip you to the table, and then you're to pick the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th character. Okay, remember, how many characters are in every single ICD-10 PCS code?
6.
7.
Wait, was this 7? It is 7, isn't it?
Every time. There is never a PCS code that is less than 7. Always 7. Okay? Everybody understand?
Yes.
Does everybody understand how to read the table?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because that's the biggest thing. Any questions on how to read the table? This first week, you're getting warmed up in it. As the couple weeks go on, I'll be adding coding scenario. You'll get more and more coding in it, and then I will be adding that. You'll be doing your ICD-10 CEM codes and ICD-10 PCS codes. You'll get to do both together, but you'll know it when it comes. It's not going to be shocking. I will tell you both ICD-10 CEM and PCS, just like I always have. Okay. But for this week, it's a warm-up. I'm warming you up. Learning how to work the files is the biggest thing. Does everybody understand how to work the files?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
But the manual for PCS doesn't look like this, right?
Oh, I don't have the book in front of me. It's just like you just have like an index. I don't have the book in front of me.
Okay.
It's just going to work just like the index. Did y'all buy the book? Did someone buy the book?
No, I was just asking the question because ICD-10's tab is broken down differently, and I'm assuming that PCS is not like this either.
What do you mean ICD-10 tab?
Well, you know how we're breaking this down right here. I'm assuming that the PCS manual would not look
the coding
like this.
book is going to be broken down just like this. You're going to figure out which is your medical surgical section. Then you're going to figure out what section it is.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to figure out the body system. And then you have to. It flows the same way. This is just in the file form.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
You're going to have an index. It's going to still take you to the table. When you go to the tablet, it's still going to take you to the table. You still have to learn how to read the table whether you have the book or not.
Okay.
Makes sense? We upload these files so you don't have to buy that big book.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because that book is the size of your other coding book.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot. Yeah. So that's why we do it this way. It seems for some reason a lot of people are afraid to let go of the books. But these files for this case just works. It works beautifully. And actually the ICD-10 CM files work the same way. It's just harder because it's harder only because you need to read so many guidelines, and this is pretty cut and dry. Make sense?
Yes.
Questions? No questions?
No, not right now. I haven't gotten into it.
Okay, so just like every week I tell you, you got to ask questions if you don't understand something. Please, 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 please ask questions. I can't stress this enough, okay? I have several people reach out to me after every module or after or right before modules due and said, I don't understand it. I did bad because I didn't understand it, but I got 0 questions. I got 0 texts, 0 phone calls, 0 emails, and nobody posted questions in the question board. So I don't know what the holdup is on why nobody's asking questions. Even if you're unsure, you think, but you're kind of just like, I don't know. Check, ask me, make sure you're on the right track, because if you're not on the right track on that one, you're probably going to be off the track all the way down the line. So you got to ask. If you don't ask, you're never going to know. And then you're going to be frustrated because your grade was low, okay? I've said it for 11 weeks to ask questions. Please ask me questions. Okay? If you don't understand something, you got to reach out. Even if you're unsure, like I'm almost sure, but let me make sure I'm on the right track. Let me ask Katrina. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I know I say yes, but I don't do it.
I know. Everybody does. Y'all do it to me. All of you. You're killing me. You're giving me gray hair. I know it's hard to ask questions, and you're trying to do it without having to ask questions, but remember, that's the only way you learn. I was telling Shelly today and that even after I graduated and I worked as a coder, I got hired as a medical coder when I got out of school, right out of school. I passed my credentialing exam, everything. I asked about 10 billion questions a day about my coding scenarios. I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And I'd already had advanced coding. I'd already passed my credentialing exam. They credentialed me in home health coding. I still had to ask questions. If I got to a point where I got stuck and I was frustrated, I'm like, oh, I'm asking a question. So I asked, and that's how I got better. I stopped asking as much because I asked so much in the beginning, it started to click. So the more questions you ask, the more you understand it, the more you remember from the last question, and the better you get. If you're just sitting there struggling and just mustering through it and not asking any questions, you're never going to get it. Okay? Because I would say, I cannot find this. Why did you look for it there? And they would put it in. I'm like, oh, that's why you looked for it there. I got it. I'm with you. So even seasoned coders ask questions. Okay? You're not stupid. That's how you learn. The only way to learn is to ask. Okay? So does that help at all? Okay? I know you want to do it all by yourself. But coding is a different beast. It's not something you can just read and get it. Okay? It's something you do, ask questions, and learn as you go. Okay? I know y'all all know this because I've been saying it for 11 weeks. Surely you're tired of me saying it.
No.
I'm just waiting for a question to be asked at some point during this semester. So, you're not stupid. You're not the only one wondering. And I love it. If someone asks a question, I'm like, woohoo! Someone asked a question. I'm excited. So, just let me know if you have problems. Okay?
Well, I tried, but it wasn't a question, as you let me know.
Yeah. What was that question, Raina? Let's go ahead and say what that question was.
Is it 2 codes?
Yeah, that's not a question. Is that 2 codes? How am I going to help you with that? You tell me. Is it 2 codes? Where are you going wrong? Where are you getting stuck? That's like saying, I got to code this. Is that right? I don't know. Is it?
I'm not very good at posting questions, as you noticed.
Well, that's where it comes. That's where I come in. Like, you can say, okay, I'll use an example. Last semester, a student said, okay, I'm throwing a number because I don't remember what number it was, but on number 3, I I believe I'm on the right track on the code. I want to make sure I'm looking in the right direction. I started in the index here. And I would reply, yes, you are on the right track. And then they would say, okay, I started the index here and it led me to this section. And then they would tell me what it's not the code where it led them, the description. And I would say, no, you need to go back and look under this description. And so I could re-guide them and tell them why it was under that section. They're like, oh, got it.
Okay,
Right
we
there.
can use the description, not the code. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want answers. I mean, you're going to have to use the description. That's obvious.
That's why I was, how do I ask this question and not give out
Yeah,
answers?
that's not giving the answer because someone has to look in the index to get the actual answer to the code, right? So if I said you're going to go to newborn, you know, if we're dealing with a newborn baby, they would say, oh, on number 3, do I need to start in cleft palate or do I need to start in newborn? I'm like, oh no, on number 3, this is why you would start in cleft palate, or number 3. I would start in newborn, and you start in newborn and find cleft palate under there. Okay, so it's guiding you, but to get to the right code, you have to go there, right? That's the whole point, is for me to guide you to the index so that you can see and visualize where to go and find the code, and then you would check it in the tabular, right? That's the process, just like we do here. Because like when I'll say, okay, for this one, where do we start? Where do y'all start? Where do you think we would start? And y'all tell me, this is where I think we would start. And I'll say, okay, let's start there. And if it's not the right place, I'll say, now we need to go somewhere else. So that's kind of how the question board should go sometimes, is I started here, but I'm not finding anything. Am I on the right track? And I would say, no, you're not on the right track. You need to go here in the index. And that takes you on the hunt. It's not me giving you the code. It's taking you on the hunt to find the right code. Does that make sense? Yes? Everybody's nodding yes? No, we can't hear you.
It does for me, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Raina, you're on mute, honey.
You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense now because that's how I was confused, is how do I post this? Because, and I'm sorry I haven't been on these things, but like you see, I almost missed you again because I was doing homework and I happened to look. I'm like, oh my God, I can still get in there.
Mhm.
So I hate it when I miss this, but because I've been wanting to ask you that question.